Hey guys, Curious Hobbyist here. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to modify Marble Arena 2. This is a marble game with move and jump controls and many cool levels, as well as stars to zap, hints to read, platforms to jump across, and so on. Also, the game has a cube map level editor, which I talked erroneously about in a previous video. One thing about this I didn't mention is if you hold control or middle mouse hovering over a face, you can use scrolling to slope that face in any direction. This has been used for many of the game's default levels. Also, by default, this game's levels are clipped on the sides, so there are surfaces right against the edges, causing them to not show, or to have any collision that works. You may be able to fall into it that way, depending on how far off it is from the center. You can fix this, and here's how. Select a corner face, then right-click the other corner, not diagonally, as that would select all the top surface. Now, push off the side. Repeat this from that side on the left and right, and then move and rotate left or right to one of the other sides, and shave off the side from the direction you just moved, shaving off the last side. Except the underside, which isn't nearly as important, and here's why. However, you can still do that. If you fall off, you won't fall below it on the y-axis without responding back to the starting point. Okay, that's enough of the editor. Let's get into game files and modding things. Firstly, once you start the app, this window opens. This is a launch window, which also has a basic set of its graphic settings, and an option saying Show User Game Files. This shows the game files the app makes and manages in your library. This includes save files, DMO files, and custom levels. Each level you make is stored here as a folder, and this contains 2 text files for name and description, sometimes an image, and an OGZ file. This file contains the cube map data. But wait, that was a bit too shallow. Let's go deeper into these things. Firstly, the save files restore game or level progress. However, you're supposed to do it from this window in the game, allowing you to restore from multiple save points. However, all of the options here close the window. The only way to load one is pressing escape, then selecting resume latest save. Enough, I guess, and not nearly as much a problem as many other things. It still is one though. As for DMO files, the game has an option for replay recording. When I first saw this, I had to try using it. Once I stopped recording, stupidly enough, I checked iTunes. If these are videos, they will be stored in a folder that's dedicated for this purpose. However, it does not have any videos. These files are DMO files. Likely, these are proprietary to the game. Also, these files are smaller than normal videos. So, it may store position and rotation of the marble, played sound effects, intensity of those sound effects, etc. every frame. There isn't really a way to load one though, at least apparently. Also, a few years ago, I did find out that you can install levels from the game's website. However, I wasn't nearly as skilled back then. The time I learned the editor was early 2016. About a year later, I found out how exactly to install levels. They don't seem to have any tutorials on that. Also, this was on our old Mac. Once I got my Mac Mini, I think the website stopped working right anymore, before I even learned how to share levels. So, I never got to do that at all. How unfortunate. Also, because others have shared these, I did see a level with gravity bubbles in all directions. So, maybe there is some obscure way to change the direction of gravity bubbles. To my knowledge, nope. So, what exactly are these files? First, I tried searching for OGZ files. According to this page, these files are Cube2 files. These store geometry, spawn points, teleporters, destinations, items, and other settings in the OGZ file. Also, these files are stored in GNU compressed zip format. The GZ here might stand for that. So, if I had to guess, these files may be GZ files, with only a different file extension. So firstly, I'm going to rename this to GZ. This makes the file show a preview. Even more so, I haven't seen this before. This icon is native to macOS, so let's try simply opening it. This creates a file with no extension. Apparently, it's also larger, which indicates the uncompressed version of the file. Inside of it, it also has some legible phrases. I can see a line saying editable map. This may be what prevents you from modding the level in-game. You can add a passcode to your levels, so that way, flying around it and modding it requires a passcode. However, the in-game levels do not have this, so pressing the E key does not do anything. So, let's try deleting that and then making this an OGZ file. Here's how. You have to recompress the file. By right-clicking it, you can choose compress. However, this creates a zip file, and all of these levels are GZ format. So, how do you turn this back into one? Here's how you can natively, at least on macOS. Hold down Command and press space. Then type in terminal. Select it and then open it. This shows a window with the command line. So first, type in the word gzip exactly as shown. Then press space and drag in the file you want to recompress directly on the window. This will point the command to that file, using a folder path. However, it will be named the same as the origin file. So, you will need to rename it or overwrite if you're fine with it. Now, simply press enter and watch this. It actually makes this a gzip file. Now, rename the file extension to OGZ. Note though, you will have to do it exactly this way. Otherwise, the GZ extension will actually still be there. Interestingly, these can work without being in a subfolder. However, they won't have previews or descriptions, and the extensions will show. If you go in the app's contents, you will see some levels inside the app. There's also models, images, music, and other types of data. By the way, this folder is called Packages. The folder in the library is also called Packages. What if I tried copying everything here, there, except the base folder? Well, guess what? This game will use anything in the library over that of the app's files. So you can modify any of these files, and then you can make folders that have all the files you modified, and even interchange them. If you want, you're also able to archive them to zip format. So, to demonstrate, here's an OBJ file from ISO Illusions. I'm going to replace the tree model used in the lobby level, which is where you start in the game. Now, let's open it to see what the lobby looks like. Firstly, you can see my starting pipe and the first staircase. Also, I'm actually colliding with the model. Really cool. Also, the second staircase is not visible. That's because you can't see or go below the ground. Side note, I noticed this happened for some weird reason. So now, back to our new lobby level. Will I get to edit this after the mod? Unfortunately, no, it didn't work. However, I can see a hint text in the level file. So maybe there is a way to add a message to a level hint that's really obscure, not user-friendly, and frankly, no one else may have thought to try. So now, let's try to modify the hint. I do have two ways that I'm going to do this. First, I'm going to swap Madam and Sir here. Now I'm going to duplicate it, and then modify it a second way. Many exclamations and question marks are spaced outwards 1 unit, so I'll delete those spaces. The next step is recompress the two files here, to gzip of course. The first one did load, and you can see here my alterations. However, these things as well as this thing that brings up level select does not work here. Otherwise, the hints do work, as well as the jump pads and other entities as normal. However, my second modification did not work. Okay, moving along, I then made a simple level. I added in a hint and then accounted this number. It seems to say 26. So, I then used this to mod the file. It didn't have the phrase map hints, so I tried to add that myself. And shockingly, sarcasm, the level did not work. So there's no way of doing this. Even to my knowledge, I just found this out. Also, DMO files are Cube 2 files as well. However, there is another game listed here. The game is called Duke Nukem 3D. I have seen this game mentioned before. For instance, here is a clip from a very interesting video on MS-DOS computers.
Or how about Duke Nukem 3D? So this thing changes everything. Unfortunately, they're darn near impossible to find, and when you do find one, it's not likely to be cheap.
In case you're wondering, he's talking about the Disney sound source. Seriously though, go watch this if you haven't. It's very interesting. Okay, back to this. That game was made before Cube 2, which was first made in 2004. That means Marble Arena is less likely to work in macOS Mojave. A whole different issue, by the way. MS-DOS was made in 1981. However, they do have a similar purpose between the two games. So, it is possible that Cube 2 demo files were derived from Duke Nukem. What is Cube 2 though? An open source FPS game. It would be interesting what I could get out of this. Now, I don't think it would work. That's because the game was first made in 2004, 8 years before Marble Arena. However, let's try to open it. To show you what's happening, I had brought up the Force Quit window. This shows all running apps. Once I open it, the only thing that seems to happen is the game quits. However, in reality, the screen fades to black for a small moment, even though you can't see this in my recording. In other words, it won't work. However, the game has some OGZ files inside the app, so I was able to drag these to a dedicated folder in base. One thing to note though, the OGZ files aren't the only files in this folder. You will have to drag them one by one. For that reason, I'd recommend swapping to icon view, so this way, you can shift select all of them, without selecting the other types of files. Then, just drag them all over. Also, there are well over 100 files inside the app. What will happen once I launch the game? Wow! This window looks very different now. There's several tabs of these OGZs, all browsable from one folder, because it doesn't have scrolling. It was never designed for folders with this many levels. You could make as many custom levels as you want though. And of course, in that case, the same thing would happen. Anyways, some of these files do work, rendering out-of-sort textures and just odd-looking gameplay. Likely accurate geometry though, because the engine is the same. However, some of these levels crash it, resulting in this. Anyways, getting back to this game's developers. Seemingly, they stopped working on it somewhere around 2012 to 13. I don't remember exactly, because the game's website does not work right anymore. I don't know the reason. Maybe the game wasn't popular enough. Specifically, their YouTube channel. Speaking of which, when was the last video here? Oh, so that's even earlier than I thought somehow. Speaking of which, I have made a comment there. However, it may have been more popular if they made a level in the custom tab that you can follow as a course to learn the game's editor. Instead, there isn't even a window sequence or anything. However, they could have planned to add those features. They may have had to abandon the project in favor of a different job. Also, it could partially be due to this game's architecture. This app is 32-bit. Unfortunately, this means it may not work in macOS Mojave. Furthermore, it's not like they could update the game. They used an almost vintage by now Cube 2 game engine. This video is almost like my eulogy for this game. I'm going to miss it, for if not obvious reasons yet, please watch my first video on it. Well, that's it, and that's all. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, feel free to like it, share it with family and friends, and sub to my channel for more content. If you want to get notifications on new uploads, click on the bell icon after subscribing. I try to post new videos on Saturdays or Sundays. Also, to go to my channel, click on my icon or channel name just below the video. For any questions or requests you have, please let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching.